Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
I am Dracula, and I welcome you to my house.
And I say, good to have a good librarian here at the Horror of Dracula.
This is episode 109, recorded September 20th. Whoops. This is episode 109, recorded September 28th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
Already it started.
Two oops already. I am your host, Jeff Mohr. On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, and maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. In each episode, we'll discuss the monsters, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history.
That's a long time.
We are Decades of Horror, the classic era, is partnering with the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, which has been going now for about 6 months or so that I know of. And our episodes are going up there. So you can also watch us on the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel if you happen to subscribe to that. And they do have cool stuff. I usually, when I'm not sure what to do, I just pull it up and scroll through. All right. With me this week are my incredible co-hosts. First up, Whitney Collazo, an accomplished artist, makeup artist, and writer. Whitney, how you doing?
I am fantastic. I had to throw a pun in. I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Fantastic.
Yes. Next up is Chad Hunt, co-host on the Decades of Horror, the 1970s and 1980s, film producer, director with Ray Havoc Productions, and a comic book artist and writer. How are you, Chad?
Well, Whitney stole my line about being fantastic. So I'm doing okay now, I guess.
Great job, Whitney. Also with us is Daphne, who is awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. Daphne, how you doing?
I'm doing good, but I've got nothing. These two guys, you're way funnier on the draw than I am.
Funny
Yeah,
looking,
Draw
maybe.
blood.
Nice.
Draw blood.
You got there.
Love it.
All right, so you may wonder, we have a special guest today, Dick Klemensen, who since 1972 has been the editor and publisher of Little Shop of Horrors magazine, the Journal of Classic British Horror Films. How you doing, Dick?
We're doing fine. We just locked down our latest issue, number 47. And next June will be 50 years since we started. Right after I got out of the Army during the Vietnam War, and I didn't get shot or hurt. So it's been a good 50 years since then.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you've been doing this for 50 years.
Yep.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. First, let's get into our topic for this week. First, we give a few details about the film that we're covering, get first impressions from everybody, and then we go off the rails.
Like we always
Or
do.
off to the races or something. Yeah.
My mom says stick with what you're good at.
So our film today is Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula, depending on if you're from across the pond or the U.S. U.S. release was Horror of Dracula. Released in 1958, directed by Terence Fisher, written by Jimmy Sangster, and of course, based on Bram Stoker's novel, or at least using the characters and the general premise. Some of the cast includes Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, Michael Goff, Melissa Stribling, Carol Marsh, John Van Eysen. Is that right, Dick?
Yes.
Valerie Gaunt, Olga Dickey, and Janina Fay. Release date, and this seems strange to me, but apparently the premiere was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on May 8th, 1958. Later was released, had a London premiere on May 22nd, 1958 at the Gaumont Theater, and a more countrywide release June 16th, 1958. The budget, as listed in IMDb, is £81,000. And using my magical currency translator, That was about $227,000 back in 1957, 58. Box office, Ultimate Movie Ranking says 2.9 million. And also worldwide rentals, 3.5 million, which is in Wikipedia. And according to Christopher Lee's autobiography, the eventual gross was 25 million. Any more info about that, Dick? Does that sound like numbers you've heard before? Or?
Yes, they tend to play fast and loose with that. It made a lot of money.
Yeah. Well,
initially not as much a Curse of Frankenstein, but overall it ended up doing even better.
Mm-hmm. So a general synopsis, if you haven't seen Dracula before, this is a little different. Instead of Renfield, it's Jonathan Harker travels to Count Dracula, begets the ire of Count Dracula after he accepts a job at the vampire's castle under false pretenses. He's really on a mission from Van Helsing, forcing his colleague, Dr. Van Helsing, to hunt the predatory villain when he targets Harker's loved ones. And there are so many great images of Christopher Lee in this movie. I had a hard time picking. Just to run through a few posters. And I'm assuming these are the U.S. posters because of the title, but these are just not doing anything for me, I guess.
No, they don't do it justice at all.
It was 1958.
American posters are often much worse than the British, and particularly much worse than the French or the Italians.
Yeah.
Or the Belgium.
So these, I think, well, the top one I'm pretty sure is British. The bottom one I'm not really sure because I've seen it a lot of places with Dracula Il Vampiro for Italian. So I don't know if it was originally British or not.
No, it's originally either Italian or it was Spanish.
Okay. So yeah, but now we're getting to the I don't know, damsel in distress, the terrifying lover. Yes, definitely look better than the U.S. posters. And then some of the international ones. Here's another, I believe, British sensational shock thrill show, and the one to the right of that is French, and below that are two Italian posters.
A friend of mine once had that big French one. It is awesome.
It's I like all of these actually.
It's a huge poster.
Okay, and so you may ask, so why did we think it was such a big deal that Dick would guest with us on this? Well, the last issue of Little Shop of Horrors was on the horror of Dracula. Was the sort of the featured topic. And there's a website for anybody who's interested in checking those out if they haven't heard of it before, littleshopofhorrors.com, and make sure you spell shop SHOPPE. But I also, for me, I met Dick through one of our other listeners, Alistair Hughes in New Zealand, who does some artwork for you, right, Dick?
Yes, he's got a inside back cover coming up on the Joan Fontaine Hammer film, The Witches.
Okay.
Which I always thought was kind of mild to one of the main lines is, they're going to skin this girl alive and then the woman's going to dance around her skin. And I'm going, whoa, Joan Fontaine movie?
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we had Alistair guested maybe, I don't know, about a year ago on The Curse of the Werewolf. See, I got it right, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I couldn't practice it. And then he told me, he kind of connected me with you. Maybe you know Dick. He lives in Des Moines. Is that very close to you? And I'm like, holy cow, yeah. It's like 50 miles away. So we started chatting back and forth and picking up several copies of the magazine and just having a blast. So I really appreciate him being on here. But there's another thing that I think is really cool is Scream Factory has had a series of Hammer films released on Blu-ray, and Dick has done a bunch of commentaries to a series called The Men Who Made Hammer. So these are the Blu-rays that they're on: X the Unknown, Bride's Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, Phantom of the Opera, Kiss of the Vampire, The Evil of Frankenstein, The Lost Continent, and you actually do the full commentary on that, right?
I mean, how could you not do a commentary and they're walking around with big boots and wearing balloons on their back? And
I know.
the lead actress has bigger balloons than on her back, and she's the one who said that, not me. So my wife couldn't hit me after I said it. It's a wonderful, wonderful.
Definitely the bustiest of the Hammer women, I think.
Wonderful singer too. If you ever check out some of her jazz singing and her Indian singing, she's incredible. Dana Gillespie.
Okay.
Used to be David Bowie's or some rocker girlfriend.
Oh, I saw that. You know what? I think, and these are the people that you talked about, Dick. Michael Carreras, Anthony Hines. Michael Carreras was one of the owners or son of the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Hines, producer. Terrence Fisher, kind of a legendary director. And Jimmy Sangster wrote lots and lots of scripts. James Bernard, the music. Bernard Robinson, the set designs. Jack Asher, cinematographer, director of photography. And then Roy Ashton, who did a lot of the makeup, special effects. Especially for Curse of the Werewolf.
I either knew them personally, corresponded with them, all but 2 of the 9 I actually met in person. I was just a fanboy.
Well, and I didn't put up. There's
Roy Skaggs, who owned the company from
him.
Yep, that's on Frankenstein and Monster from Hell Blu-ray.
Okay, but did you do one on him?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the only one I didn't do was Freddie Francis, who I had met.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But really didn't know. But a friend of mine in England had done a autobiography with him, so I had him do it for him.
So I got these all out last weekend and played all of Dick's commentaries and was totally engrossed. I loved it. So
thank you.
Completely geeked out on that.
I walked in there that day, and he said, my Constantine Nasser, the producer, who's just finishing a documentary for Warner Brothers on The Flash right now, said, how about we do this series? And I said, I'm not prepared. And they said, just go ahead and talk. So for 2 days, about 14 hours, that's all I did was talk about friends and people I knew.
Yeah, it's excellent. And Constantine Nasser did he did the commentary on Quatermass in the Pit, I think.
Yep.
With I forget who he was with, but, Steve Haberman maybe.
Steve Haberman or Ted Newsom, he did a lot of those.
Yeah.
Tomorrow he's talking to Madeline Smith. They're having a new Blu-ray of the Vampire Lovers coming out.
Okay, well let's. There's so much coming out. As soon as I found this out, you cost me a bunch of money, Dick. After because I had to.
Hey, I didn't get any of it. I got a free trip to California.
I was going through my old VHS thinking I had a VHS copy of Horror of Dracula, but I do have Vampire Lovers. But it doesn't have no commentary.
Well, let's get into first impressions. And if you don't mind, Dick, a lot of times we have our guests go first, but I'm going to let our regulars go first and then you can maybe fill in the gaps since you know so much about it. Is that okay with you?
When you say I know so much about this.
Okay. I'm setting it up. So Whitney, when did you first see this? What were your impressions of the Horror of Dracula?
So originally,
no pressure.
Well, that's funny because I actually had to type up a little something and relay back with a friend that I had a special experience with. Actually, in the winter of 2019, I got to see a 1958 35 millimeter Technicolor print of this at Rail Archive in Lenoir here in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And it was from the original Universal Pictures release from the film. But also I got to see a couple of reels from, I think, the 1962 or 1963 35 millimeter Technicolor print from the Warner Brothers re-release. So just seeing that on a big screen, as opposed to vague memories from being slightly younger, was really cool. And to revisit that and see that with a friend was was so cool. And shout out to Jeffrey Rail for having such a really cool, small, like intimate archive of a place just to visit and see films like that. So it was fun.
Nice. And you liked it?
I did. It was, I mean, what's not to like to see Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee and all the magic, and seeing that Michael Goff has had just as much of a story in this as anyone else.
Yeah. Okay. Chad, how about you?
Well, first of all, I saw this as a kid, and I used to stay weekends at my grandparents' a lot. And I loved doing that because Saturday nights meant Shock Theater at 11:30 after local news. And I saw this movie on there, or one of the late nights, but I was scared to death. I grew up, I was a big Universal monster kid. I loved all the Universal stuff. So every time before I would go over to their house, I would take the TV guide and I would mark all the good stuff that was coming on that they could get it on their TV that I couldn't get on our TV at home. So Horror of Dracula was one of them. And I remember I was on the couch and I faked a stomach ache or something so I could sleep on the couch instead of the bedroom, knowing full well I was going to turn on the TV later to watch scary movies. So I start to watch this movie and I'm like, oh my God, red blood's dripping down the coffin. I'm used to black and white Dracula and that kind of thing. So I was just scared out of my wits, especially after seeing Christopher Lee as Dracula and with the red eyeballs and the blood, the bright red hammer blood going down his face, and scared. I had the covers up to my nose, peeking over the covers, watching TV. And I guess one of my feet was hanging out or something at the edge of the couch. And all of a sudden a voice whispers in my ear, if you don't put them feet up on them covers, Dracula's going to get you. That's how my grandfather said Dracula. So I immediately ran to the bathroom so as not to go in my pants after that. And he was laughing the whole way as I was running down the hall. He thought it was hilarious. I, of course, did not think it was very funny until like 2 days ago. But yeah, this movie scared me. When I came back, they normally wouldn't allow this, but my grandfather sat on the couch with me and to watch the rest of it. Like, I guess he felt bad because he scared the living crap out of me, So we watched it again together, and it was a good memory for that. And it changed the way I saw Dracula. I've never seen a Dracula. I mean, I was so used to Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney Jr., as son of Dracula, and then that kind of stuff, that this was a totally different character. This was a more animalistic Dracula. This was more of a, I don't know, it was just totally, it was almost like, yeah, there's that romanticism and that stuff that Lugosi had, but at the same time, he could switch that off and just become this animal almost, with grunts and growls and that kind of stuff. So it really, really made an impression on me as far as the color and the character of Dracula. And so, yeah, this is one of my favorite Hammer horror films ever. I mean, there's this one, and then Curse of Frankenstein. This was one of those that really changed the way I saw Dracula. So it made a big impression on me then, and this is one of my favorite Hammer films ever.
Yeah. Thanks for that story. That's a good story. Let's go to Daphne. Daphne, do you remember when you first saw this?
I actually just first saw it last week. I thought
Oh.
I had seen it because I remember stills of it. I remember, I'm sure we'll talk about especially the last scene where Dracula and Van Helsing are getting each other. And there's scenes from that. So I don't know if it's scenes or stills that I saw, but I thought for sure that I had seen it. Like I had said, I thought I had a VHS of it. And I think I've seen stills, and I know that they're together, and I've heard stories about them together. They just somehow merged into me having seen this movie before, but I hadn't. And so it was really fun watching it and seeing the two of them, even though they weren't together very often. Kind of some of my favorite scenes were them playing off each other, even if they were only together for like 30 seconds or something. And it was really fun. I liked it a lot.
All right. I've got a lot of movies like that where I think I actually told Bill Milligan I saw a movie that was never released.
He has the Blu-ray too.
Yeah.
That was commentary.
Okay. So Dick, when did you first see this? And I'm guessing it made a big impression on you, but let's.
It actually was a little bit farther down the line. I started going to movies in the 50s, and the ones that scared me, the first one was a Universal film. I saw it to drive in with my cool cousin Larry and his high school buddies, which is Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. I spent most of the movie hiding behind the back seat. And I saw Revenge of Frankenstein, I think. In 61, I saw Brides of Dracula, Curse of the Werewolf, Night Creatures, and Phantom of the Opera. I didn't know what a Hammer film was, but they impressed me. In 1969, I had mono that summer. My girlfriend and I broke up. I'd gone
I
out
can
drinking.
understand that.
Oh, God, yeah. I gone out drinking with a friend, and that night ended up vomiting all up the side of my bed. I was still living at home, so my mother loved me. But I went to a drive-in triple feature of
Sounds like one of my stories.
Valley Guanji, Godzilla vs. Thing, and Dracula Has Risen from the Grave.
Oh, wow.
And Dracula Has Risen from the Grave knocked me in my ass. I went again the next night. Thank God we moved from Mason City to Waterloo. My mother brought along my famous monsters and Castle of Frankenstein. And that's when I really started to become a fan. I kept reading about Horror of Dracula. I'd never seen it. Looked in the Des Moines Register and up in Waterloo one Sunday and saw as a late feature at a drive-in in Des Moines. And that's before interstate stuff. That's like a good solid 2-hour drive. I said, I want to see this. So I hopped in my car, and I had no clue where it was in Des Moines, but I drove down there. Luckily, it was on Northeast 14th, as Jeff knows. It's the first place I ran into. It was fantastic. I sat through 2 Italian vampire films to get to it. Then had to come back the next day and go to work. And some years later at a FAMX convention, I believe Daphne said, we saw it on a big screen. And Veronica Carlson from Dracula's Risen from the Grave was there. And it was in Technicolor, IB Tech. If you're going to show a Hammer film to somebody who isn't a Hammer fan, this is the one. My favorite Hammer film was Brides of Dracula, but Horror of Dracula has got everything. It has got action and blood and jumping and fights. It moves along. It's only, 85 minutes. It's tight. At the end, the director, Joe Dante, once said it's the only movie he ever went to where people in the audience were screaming during the fight between Van Helsing and Dracula. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of those films that transcends times. You can show it to my 24-year-old grandson, because we watch movies every Sunday, and he loves it. Of course, yeah. I inflected his father with it, so his father also liked black and white and silent movies, so he was doomed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Lucky, more like
another great story. I wish I would have been. I wasn't that hardcore searching for that stuff, and I swear I don't believe there was ever any Hammer films that showed in Ames that I can remember, because I swear I just think I would have gone to them. I used to go to all these matinees in the summer that were usually AIP stuff, the Poe things and other fare like that. And I used to watch the Saturday night show for us was called Gravesend Manor, but I don't remember seeing any Hammer films on that. So yeah, I didn't see it until not too long ago, a few years ago, I guess. And I love it too. I'm a big fan of the original Dracula, or at least the 1931 Dracula. With Bela Lugosi, I just love the scope of it and the size of the castle and how smooth and slow he is, that kind of stuff. But this is like, to me, to compare them is sort of like apples and oranges. It's you've got the sort of the suave debonair version, I guess, and then you have the almost feral version that Lee plays, at least not when he's not seducing the women. So I love that. And it was one of those things. I never knew that much about Hammer growing up, but I found out later through doing these podcasts that a lot of the stuff I'd seen had been Hammer. I just didn't get it, that it was a thing. So shame on me. Let's get into
Iowa. What are you going to do?
Yeah. So, but I'm trying hard to make up for it now. Now we did leave one thing out, or I switched the order or something. Taglines. Chad, are you ready with the taglines?
I was hoping you would just keep going.
Get the tab. Oh, these are great though.
Yeah. We haven't had good taglines in a while.
No, we haven't. So Chad's our tagline reader. So.
He's the best.
You're putting too much pressure on me.
Whatever you're ready.
I'm going to read them all like Donald Duck or something now. Okay, tagline number 1: sensational shock and thrill show. There should be a lot of echo in that, like a car, monster truck show or something.
Shock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shock, and thrill show. See, Daphne should be reading these. Not me.
No.
The second tagline: don't dare see it.
Alone.
And Whitney stole. There's where Whitney stole.
Yeah, the first two are taglines we get with like almost every movie. It seems like, right?
Yeah. Those are generic taglines.
But now we get into some good ones.
This one has Christopher Lee's fantastic first ever performance as the Lord of the Undead. Fantastic, everybody. You're going to hear that a lot tonight, I think.
Okay. I can't help but thinking of Lord of the Dance, which automatically has Christopher Lee as Dracula doing Lord of the Dance.
Doing Lord of the Dance.
Yeah. That's my head. That's my brain. Sorry.
Whoa.
Anyways, you can't see a full length of me doing that.
The haircut has released your...
It has. They're all coming out.
I love that haircut so much, by the way.
I do too.
When you get to my age, you're happy to have hair. So my wife had mine down to my shoulder, and somebody photoshopped it into the Quaker Oats man with the Quaker hat.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
cut it. I was eating more hair than wearing. So I said, can we kind of meet halfway?
That's funny.
My poor brother and both my boys went bald in their 20s, so I got the right genetic move.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
We'll keep our mouths shut. The terrifying lover who died yet lived. We can't make our minds up.
I love these. These are the kind Chad really likes.
Yeah, these are the best ones. These are just the best. Okay, picture a lady on the 6 o'clock news that she just witnessed something. Every night he rises from his coffin bed, silently to seek the soft flesh, the warm blood that he needs to keep himself alive. Every night. It's just every night with that.
Soft flesh.
All right. Who will be his bride tonight? What's going up there at that castle? I want to know. Okay. I don't know what happened to the bride last night, but now she's one of the dead alive brides of Dracula. Or Dracula, as Grandpa used to say.
Yeah, where we had Peter Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
Also where Peter Jackson got the title of one of his horror films, Dead Alive. Never mind.
That's good to know.
It's not true. I just made it up.
Hey, good for me.
Important note, don't confuse the picture with our other Dracula movies. This is the newest and best one and the only one in Technicolor. Damned other Dracula movies, they're always getting them confused with ours. Call this one Horror of Dracula. That'll fix that.
The blood works, right? The Technicolor. It worked, right, Chad?
It did for me. A double dose of full color thrills. This was because it was on a double bill with The Curse of Frankenstein. There were not two Draculas or two Van Helsings or anything like that. This has got to be my favorite one. Frankenstein spills it. Dracula drinks it. And the screen's greatest double creature feature of all the features. And this is, again, is a double bill with The Curse of Frankenstein. The chill of the tomb won't leave your blood for hours after you come face to face with Dracula.
Okay.
Thanks, Grandpa. I ran that joke into the ground for you.
It's interesting how Curse of Frankenstein, Horror of Dracula come together in like '64. Because one was Warner Brothers, one was Universal. But the rights to the films went back to a guy named Elliot Hyman, Seven Arts. So he just up and re-released them in the mid-1960s.
I've heard of 7 Arts.
Yeah, that stuff is like
Because
it's like a
Horror of
maze.
Dracula went out like The Head That Wouldn't Die or some really strange black and white film. I can't remember.
Well, who had the rights, and when we had to stay away from calling them this or that, or we couldn't use the makeup like Jack Pierce's.
Curse of Frankenstein, yeah, they couldn't do anything that was actually done for the first movie. But if it's in the book, they could do it. But still,
so
you can be sued and be right, and you can't afford to be sued. And you didn't want to be sued by Universal.
So let's talk about some of the cast here. Peter Cushing.
Who's this guy?
I think he wears 19th century clothes better than anybody else I know. He just always looks.
Oh, that purple velour suit he was wearing in this one, man, that was just.
Oh yeah,
he was on top of his game on that.
Oh, and that coat he wears, so he puts around you need to pay. I wish I owned a coat like that in Iowa.
That's right. And he keeps pulling it over, and it keeps falling off, and it's finally time to leave, and it falls off the one shoulder. I watched this a lot of times in the last 10 days.
It was in the right place.
Yes, it was. That was a nice choreographed thing there. God, we got to talk about Lee. Now, this is just disturbing. These is like
the 3 most non-flattering pictures of Dracula I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but he's like an animal.
Yeah,
and feral beast.
Yeah,
and it's like
that's what I really like the most.
This is not what horror films look like.
No,
no, absolutely not.
And we certainly didn't get the disintegration.
Blood off his fangs. People were going backwards over their seats.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And we sure did not get a disintegration scene like that in any of the Universal movies.
No.
Well, and the first times I saw this were the U.S. cut, where they didn't show that particular the scratching down the face thing. They showed the hand dissolving, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing that with
in Japan. The Japanese.
Say that again. Yeah, Daphne's hiding there. You have to lean out a little bit. Sorry. So what about the way that they played off each other? I mean, God, this
So
is
good.
the most. It's like the most athletic one. I love at the beginning we get Lee vaulting over the table to stop Valerie Gaunt, right, from taking Jonathan Harker, and then later on Cushing runs down the full length of the table.
Well, the scene when Cushing or Van Helsing realizes that Dracula was in the wine cellar and he races down there, and they have like maybe at most 10 seconds. Well, first of all, Cushing comes racing in there so fast and so agile. And then Lee pops his head in there and sees him and goes, ah, you know, and then runs. I mean, it's like, I love that scene. I was watching it again this morning, and like they're together for probably less than 10 seconds. And I loved every millisecond of it.
You're muted, Chad.
I said Daphne is awesome at acting these scenes out.
Yes.
We should love Daryl Flynn, and he wanted
They
to
bring that
act like
home.
Daryl
We
Flynn.
said it. It's awesome.
Well, it's all outside of the screen. Imagine if you could see everything. I'm using my whole instrument here, Chad.
So
Silence.
Yeah.
Crickets.
No. So Lee is playing this so different from any vampire before this. So it's interesting to me, like where that came from. Did that come from Terrence Fisher? Did that just come from Lee's idea, or Jimmy Sangster? Maybe I don't.
Well, the whole sequence at the end, the whole fight at the end was pure. It was just an action movie. You know, that was an action scene, a really good action scene, shot very well.
Part of it's in the script, but I think it's going to come down to Cushing and Lee and Fisher putting it together. Even the thing with the crosses, that was Cushing's idea.
Oh yeah,
And-
I did read that.
And the leak
That's
to the
interesting.
curtains. I mean, Cushing ran down the table, but he stunt double leaked to the curtains. But yeah, this is not how black and white horror films ended in the 1950s.
No,
This
that's
is not
so
Fire
awesome.
Maidens of Outer Space. It scared the crap out of me, by the way. I'm sure the bodysuit monster was coming over the wall after me.
There was at the end when they were fighting, right before Lee starts disintegrating, where he is like making these crazy faces and but it was awesome. I was like, he was just like totally I don't know, like I'm not an actor, but it was just totally, I just felt like he was just totally going for it, and in agony.
Mm-hmm. And I love Cushing in this. I like him even more than I liked him as Dr. Frankenstein, because in some of the Frankenstein movies, he could be like a villain almost. But in the Van Helsing roles, he was always this heroic figure that was not afraid. He wasn't afraid of anything. The only thing he was afraid of was letting Dracula get away at the end. But I really, really love him as he's my favorite Van Helsing of any Dracula movie or anything. And that's who he'll always be to me. I know he was in all the Frankensteins and stuff like that, but it just did not hit home like this is, I hate to say this, like it's almost like a cliche, but it's like this is the role he was born to play. It seems so natural and so I don't know. He made a good foil for Christopher Lee in this. They were almost like equals. I know Dracula usually has shown to have superhuman strength and all, but they showed them just go at it at the end like two dudes in a bar, fighting over the bar rag or something, at the end. So I'll always love him in this role. This is probably my favorite of his.
Well, this film made Christopher Lee. Peter Cushing was a big star in England.
Yeah.
Mainly on television and plays, and a bit in movies. He'd been in some big films, like an Alan Ladd film. But Christopher Lee had been around for 10 years, playing bit parts, doing nothing. He said Curse of Frankenstein really didn't do anything for his career. He's just a tall guy in makeup. Dracula made his career. And
Wow.
sure that gave it his all.
Well, I think I remember reading somewhere that Cushing, the really big hit was the television version of on the BBC of 1984, which I just saw recently. It was actually on the Sci-Fi or the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel, and I was astounded at his performance in that. It was incredible, and then to go on, and those things were really big, right? Just like all the quartermass. God, I did it.
You said Quartermass.
I did.
Al's gonna play you
I'm
alive.
sorry. I'm sorry. Alistair gives us a hard time about that. Quatermass.
I had nothing to do with it, Al. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, we're
the
reading
TV
the
series.
table of contents in our Quatermass and Pit article, and I spelled it Quartermass.
Oh,
Blasphemer.
And what is it? The first thing you look at after you're done with an issue and you open it up, and it spells
Yes.
the damn name wrong. And 20 people proofread this stupid thing.
Yeah. So that's interesting because Lee is he really goes for it, but Cushing is cool too. I like the way it's the writing, but I like the way Cushing plays it, where he walks into the inn at the beginning and looks around, garlic and all this other stuff, and looks at the innkeeper and goes, "What are you afraid of?" We're not screwing around. We're not having chit chat. I'm just going, "What are you afraid of?" And the guy's like, you'll get your dinner, but I ain't talking to you. And then later on, when he's trying to convince Michael Goff's character, Arthur Holmwood, about it, and Holmwood's not having any of it, right? He's kind of haughty or arrogant about it. Get away from me, leave me alone. We have doctors. Until something happens that convinces him otherwise. Then he's in it whole hog. He's reading the diary. He's reading books about vampires.
I always find it interesting how they change around characters and settings from the book to fit the movies. This one has a little bit more of Stoker's novel in it than the original Lugosi Dracula, I think. But they changed. I think they changed Harker with
Renfield.
Then Mina and Lucy have switched roles. So I thought that was interesting, and that might have been because of budgetary reasons. It was easier to cast these roles differently, or do you have any
I think
insight on
things
that?
were just combined a lot of things. It was a tight budget even for the time.
Yeah, just to make it.
Yeah, they took the ship travel out.
Yeah, Dracula arriving in, leaving the country, and a lot of that
but it
stuff
works.
was in there. Yeah, it works. It works great. I just find it interesting to make note of some of the changes that movie makers
The
do.
character I love in that film is Valerie Gaunt. I loved her as Justine in Curse of Frankenstein. I thought she was wonderful to Vampire Woman in that. And yet, when that was done, she was done. And the recent biography of Terence Fisher come out, she had died. She got married right after it finished. And her husband, they just got married. He come home for premiere. She kicked off her shoes and said, "I'm never doing that again." She said she was tired of producers chasing her around the desk wanting sex.
Oh, man.
And that's changed. She was really, really good. She was even better as Justine in Curse of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
What
she's
I
good in
really thought what was impressionable about her and her performance was like her scream. And you didn't even have to see what happened to her. Like it was just cut. Then you hear her scream after you know that stake was like driven right into her heart. That was impressionable for me as her in that role. That was just wow.
She was,
Yeah, so we also
she was a fine actress, but she wanted a family. She ended up with her husband was a stockbroker, then became a reverend or a preacher or something, and she taught kids how to act, but basically wanted nothing to do with it after that.
Yeah. Well, she
But her
also has
husband was quite proud of her.
Well, that's good.
nice. Well, she also has that feral look, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that shot right there. There's, and of course when she gets staked.
And you see her get thrown up against the stones around the big globe? That wasn't a stunt woman. She took a big yank.
When
wow.
Dracula comes flying across the table and grabs her.
Grabs her and slings her into the
Yeah.
up against the, I don't know, it's a fireplace or a brick, but she flies in that thing.
I was really impressed with her because I didn't really know what her motives were. Like, I totally believed that she was hoping to escape, but then on the other hand, I thought she's just playing into him so that she could get him. You know, it was so I was just really impressed with that.
And like Vampire Woman's there, she had a nice pair of shoes. She had high heels on.
Oh wow.
She's an iconic. That's an iconic. I mean, you used to see that picture of her and different pictures of her and famous monsters all the time.
Teeth and the blood coming.
Yeah,
down.
Yes.
So it's interesting because she is, to me anyway, far more memorable than the actresses that play Mina and Lucy. And I don't know that much about. Here in this picture, we've got Melissa Stribling as Mina, who is married to Arthur Holmwood, and then Michael Goff as Holmwood. And I thought he did a good job. He's kind of starched shirt, sort of I don't know, upper class British at the beginning, but he, you know, when the crap hits the fan, he kind of you know, gets down into it and helps out and believes what Van Helsing's been telling him.
I met Melissa Stribling in 1977. She was in her late 40s, and they had her made. You can't tell. This was a strikingly beautiful woman. In a role that there wasn't a lot for her to do.
Yeah.
And good actors did a lot of other things after that. Carol Marsh was in the version of the Christmas Carol we like so much, was Alistair Sims. I thought she should have had a bigger career, but that was England. It's not always easy to have any kind of career.
She, the most memorable part of hers was when she gets the cross to the forehead.
Oh, and that's
Van
a great
Helsing
shot by
comes in
Terence Fisher. The way she's moving forward and the hand comes out holding the cross. I mean, it's just almost a shock jump.
Yeah. I also loved coming up to that part where she's approaching her brother. It's like she just looks like she's just sliding right in. She's just gliding right for him, and she looks so dangerous and cunning. It's such a striking difference than her in her when she was sick. It was like, oh man, she's
that whole scene where they're in the crypt or whatever, and she has the child. And her brother comes in and she lets the child go in order to bite her brother or attack her brother. Wow, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. That was just so creepy. And
yeah, well, the dialogue is just
I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, the dialogue is just strange. What took you so long? Come here, give me a kiss.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, it showed. I've always been of the mind that. And then anybody that listens to 80s, I think I've mentioned it in the 80s before, decades of horror, that vampires are more or less a scourge on humanity. They're like a disease. They're like rats, you know, and that's how I always just these monstrous creatures. And I thought that little touch there where she dropped the child and went for her brother shows how the corruption of the vampire is. You know, they go after who they love and destroy what they love, and that was just I thought that was a great little sequence there. But it kind of plays into how I see vampires as just this corrupted soulless creature, not just somebody that I am Count Dracula. Would you like a turkey leg? That kind of guy. They're just nasty creatures that pretend to be human sometimes, and that's another thing that I liked about Christopher Lee's Dracula.
A character you don't have up there. I love Miles Malleson as J. Marks, the Undertaker.
Oh,
When
he
he's
was
down
awesome.
there, he's tapping his fingers. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? He was a great favorite of Terence Fisher, and had a tremendous career as a writer. He wrote the late 1930s, early 1940s Thief of Baghdad. But Fisher loved him. He had him in Hound of the Baskervilles, Phantom of the Opera, Brides of Dracula. He was bald, and he'd wear a wig on top of a wig. He was so great in that. He's just wandering around, tapping his fingers on the lid of the coffin. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Cracking jokes.
Yep.
I know.
I remember
I
remember screaming at the television, going, "No, you killed Dracula first, then the black would be okay."
I know. It was so frustrating.
Yes.
Too late
What's
now.
wrong with you?
Dracula has left the building. And came back.
Well, I just wondered, why did Dracula get up, leave the place, then come back down again?
Yeah, then come back.
Right.
It looks nice because the clothes and the shadow going down, the railings that comes down, but maybe Harker just felt sorry for the girl.
And also him and his cape is just so cocoon. So I don't know.
That
it makes him more of a shape than a he's just this black evil shape.
Black line cape or the red line cape. This is the only one where his cape is in black. All further Christopher Lee Draculas had red lining on the cape.
I prefer the black, all black like that.
I think I like black too.
Yes.
Like Chad said, it's just a shape, and I don't think I even really realized that.
For some reason, they went from red after that.
They probably thought the blood thing. But one of the things I noticed about this that I hadn't noticed the first few times I saw it was how he takes the stairs like 3 steps at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With that cape around him, it kind of goes.
Sound of his feet. The producer said they edited out all sounds of his feet hitting the ground.
Yeah, it was.
It kind of played along with his, like when he was carrying Harker's suitcase and stuff. It was like, it made me think, okay, there's something, you don't necessarily pick up on it, but there's something otherworldly about him. They don't really go into detail about super strength or anything like that, but he's just more smooth and I don't know.
Well, I know these are kind of hard to see, but I actually pulled these shots to try to show some of Bernard Robinson's set design. There's so much in these pictures in the background, hanging on the wall.
And that was another thing too that really took me by surprise was this isn't some old rundown Transylvanian castle. This is somebody lives here. There's not a cobweb in sight.
Bernard Robinson married Margaret Robinson after they worked on Hound of the Baskervilles, The Mummy, and that. She said, "How come Dracula's castle is never dirty?" And he said, "Magic."
Magic.
Great answer. Well, everything looks magical. It's just a beautiful set. Like all the sets are gorgeous.
And I just love that he has a library. I mean, that, and that he would hire someone to catalog his library.
Yes.
And you throw in the beautiful
Wink,
lighting
wink.
of Jack Ashton. It's just his blues and his greens, more so even than the reds. The blues are just incredible.
Well, the staging of that top shot with, we've got Valerie Gaunt on the floor after Dracula's thrown her. Dracula leaning on the globe like he's ready to pounce, and Harker in the background holding his neck because she just kind of tweaked him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did the starter bite, I guess. But it's, I just love it. The chair, look how ornate the chair is. And I remember, I can't remember if you talked about this, Dick, or not, but the idea of putting things in the foreground to make the area, to give it perspective and make the area seem a little larger.
Even that set you see at the top, which is the same set at the bottom. It's the set for the graveyard. It's reused over and over again within the film. It's an okay soundstage. It's not really big because I've actually been on it. Yeah, foreground objects and you photograph through them do give more perspective to it. And that globe showed up in about a half dozen other Hammer films. I wish I had one up in the living room.
Oh, the globe? Yeah, that's.
Oh yeah,
it
was part of their scene doc there, and there's certain things you see again and again and again. Certain chairs. Look sometime at the Phantom's Lair in Phantom of the Opera, and it looks like a collection of every Hammer prop that was ever made.
I'll have to look. So I think, I don't know how much did was Michael Goff in a lot of Hammer
Goff was
stuff?
in 2 Hammer films. Did that and Phantom of the Opera. I mean, he worked all the time.
Yeah.
He took a lot of criticism for his Harker. I've never truly understood it. I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh, he overacted or this or that," and I think, no, it looked fine to me. And he was he took every role he offered.
I could kind of see that, but I'm sorry, his wife is being pursued by this evil creature, and anyway, and his sister was killed. He's bound to be worked up or emotional about it. We have one of the things we always do, Dick, is Chad's off here. Oh, he's back. So Goff is our Batman connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So he played Alfred in some of the movies.
There's always a Batman connection.
There is. I mean,
a Michael Goff story. Constantine Nasser was over in England, went over to Ireland. He was filming extras for the big Batman release in the early 2000 on, I don't know, DVD or Blu-ray. He got hit with kidney stones. And if you ever had kidney stones, they put you on your butt. Michael Goff and his wife, who didn't know him, took him in and took care of him for a week.
Wow.
Goodness.
okay.
He was over there with Warner Brothers, whoever, I think did the Batman, doing all the extras for a great big Batman release, the commentary with Tim Burton, and filming a bunch of people. He was in Ireland. He got hit with kidney stones. Right after seeing Michael Goff, and Goff and his wife insisted they take care of him.
Wow.
It's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
That is. One of the things that you get from watching these the Men Who Made Hammer features that Dick did with Constantine is sort of the family approach, that they all, maybe at one time they were sick of Hammer or mad at whatever was going on, but at some point they came to respect it and have a lot of fondness. It sounded like to me. So
I just get tired of actors and actors in particular always going on, well, I made this, but it was crap. I said, you made it, you took the money. Why do you denigrate it? If it was good enough to get paid to act, then be honest about it. But why is everything always crap?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I have to bring up one of my favorite little bit players that I frequently do is Miles Mallison. Who plays the Undertaker, J. Marks, in this one, and he's a nice little piece of comic relief, I guess. Tells that story about the guy falling down and apparently dying.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Hilarious story.
Where did I put that casket? Oh yes, it's over. And we've actually done a fair amount, and he always adds something to him. We've done a fair amount of shows with him. So I think the top shot is from Brides of Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
But then the two side by side in the middle, the one on the left is from Dead of Night, where he plays a hearse driver and a bus driver. You know, the line "room for one more, sir."
Mm-hmm.
That's repeated throughout the film. The one on the right he's the guy that walks into the apothecary newsstand and wants to see the naughty pictures. He's going to buy their naked pictures. And Peeping Tom. And then the bottom one is from one of my favorite films, nobody else's, but The Queen of Spades.
Yeah, you got that one.
So I love him, and he's just one of those guys. When you start looking, he shows up everywhere. So this is the fourth film that he's been in that we've done that I can think of. You know, there might be more if I really dug into it, but he's a character. He always does something extra, and he's always memorable, I think.
I really liked the coach chasing scene with the horses, and then he's tying up, trying to settle that pole or whatever that thing is, and then one just like breaks it, and then next he has to do it again, and so it gets broken again.
so is he like the customs guy from that time or something? I mean,
I just love these little characters that kind of just brought these bizarre, funny things into the rest of it wasn't funny. You know, there weren't any jokes, but then there was this wacky kind of bit that kind of came from left field, but I really liked them.
We did an article in The Horror of Dracula written by my friend Colin Cowie. I stayed with him and his wife in England many times over the last 50 years. He's probably seen Dracula 1,000 times. He's crazy, in other words, but they're watching, a friend of their mother's was watching it when it first came out, and one of the early extras walking by, Peter Cushing, comes in. That was this woman's husband said, "The bastard, he never told me he was in this, and he got paid and he didn't share it."
Oh my gosh.
And Abe Sloman is up. He's walking by, gives him a look, and he pocketed the money, and old mom didn't see any of it.
Oh, man. So any I'm trying to flip through some of this stuff here. I know. So in the credits, and I'm this is a question maybe for Dick or for any other special effects, if Whitney or Chad knows anything about this, but the credits list Sidney Pearson as special effects technician, and it also lists Roy Ashton as uncredited. And I'm just wondering what do you know anything about what Roy Ashton did as opposed to Sidney Pearson?
Roy Ashton was an assistant to the makeup man Phil Leakey. They were friends, and he would come down and help put on regular makeup from time to time.
Okay,
and after the next one was Revenge of Frankenstein, and then Phil Leakey quit to go off independent, and Roy Ashton became the head makeup man. But he had nothing. Roy Ashton had nothing to do with the special effects.
Okay. So he wouldn't have done like the crosses on their hands or face or any of that stuff, or
that's the kind of stuff he would have done. But like that's
bloody eyeballs.
But as far as peeling the face off, the stuff at the end, that kind of stuff, that would have been a story about that. I came home from work when I was married to my first wife on a Saturday in the early 1980s. She said, "You got a call from someone named Dick Smith," and Dick Smith. Is a big name makeup man.
Yeah, the master.
So I'm all trepidation. I call him back and he says, "Oh yeah, I really like the ending of Horror of Dracula. Do you know the guy who did it, who I could contact? Because I'd like to ask him some questions about a film I'm working on now." I'm going, holy cow, Dick Smith?
Wow.
So I put him in contact with Sid Pearson. So it says
really
even
cool.
even the best can learn from Hammer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There still aren't many people that can do what Dick Smith did back in the 70s and 80s, early 80s and stuff.
He just seemed like a guy who was willing to share what he knew. And I love that he would call someone to find out information about something. He wouldn't have too much pride to say, "Oh, I want to find out how you did that. Tell me." I think that's so cool.
First off, I'm trying not to stammer and stutter because I'm talking to freaking Dick Smith. Going back,
I get
going
that.
back to Famous Monsters of Filmland days, I was always reading about Dick Smith.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of Dorian Gray make him, all these others, and Little Big Man. I'm
Yeah.
going, holy cow, Dick Smith.
Ghost Story.
Yeah. Then my wife says, "Who's Dick Smith?" That's all right.
Well, he's not Dick Miller. He's Dick Smith.
Oh God, I love Dick Miller. I just finished the biography of Miller.
I watched a documentary of him, and I forget what it is. It's something like That Guy.
I saw that
Yeah,
one too. Yeah,
Yes, I watched that. That's terrific.
that's a good one.
All right. Do we have anything else we need to talk about that somebody hasn't? You really think we should mention that you find really interesting, or that you didn't get to talk about?
It's gone quiet, but we've covered a lot of stuff.
They're thinking.
That's not a good sign.
Yeah. No.
But here's something. I just finishing an article on the Gorgon, and Sid Pearson did the effects on that. You talk about 180-degree difference between Horror Dracula and the Gorgon's head with those pneumatic snakes popping in and out. I mean, that's what was capable at that time. They had the money, did not have the money or the facilities to do those sort of things. But it's just so different. And how one was still incredibly effective, the other one was not so effective. In fact, Terrence Fisher and the producer were not happy when they saw it. So they shot as much of the Gorgon's head as they could in the dark.
Well, and that's the grief that film gets. We did an episode on that. I don't know. Was that, things
I like the
get
Gorgon
spread
a
out.
lot. It's
yeah,
the last of the class. It's the last of the really classic looking Hammer films.
Great cast.
They plowed under the back lot after that. Only made a few more films for Brave Studios, and that was it.
So yeah, I mean, Cushing, Lee, Barbara Shelley, Richard Pascoe.
The last film, all of them together, directed by Terrence Fisher.
Yeah. All right. I know what else. The music. James Bernard. You told a story about it, and I can't stop hearing it now. About how the theme music in the background.
How
Dracula.
And I didn't even notice that. He actually started with Curse of Frankenstein to listen to it. The music would be the title. Frankenstein has created woman, tastes the blood of Dracula, and it's part of the music. And being really ignorant, I didn't catch it till other people said, well, son of a gun, Dracula. And it was appeared in all subsequent films, some variation on that. He used it again and again in his opening titles. I went to Disneyland once with James Bernard in 1996. We went down Splash Mountain together with our friends. He was a true gentleman, and man, he was talented.
Yeah. Well, I after you said that, or after I listened to that, I was paying attention, and it's done. But it's it's not unusual. I mean, it doesn't fit the creature's name, but Creature from the Black Lagoon has that three or four note.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dun, 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 that they used it in a lot of creature features back then.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode.
It's
We
been
do have
great
some
fun.
feedback.
Thanks for inviting me.
Well, we have a little bit of feedback, Dick, and I really, it was fun, and I appreciate you doing this.
It's awesome.
Hope we can have you back sometime.
Yeah.
I hope so. I
I
got
need
this issue. Then we're starting a book on Little Shop of Horrors presents Bitches, Witches, and Banshees. I can't remember. Basically, it's the films that American International made in England from 1958 to 1976.
Oh, okay.
Sold.
And
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff, it's going to be fun.
Pre-order. Put me on the pre-order list.
Well, I'll send you a flyer, and thank you for buying Little Shop, by the way, Daphne. I bought some of the old issues when I was really young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm still working my way through them because they're so chock full of info.
we bury them with text. The current issue is going to be 85,000 words.
Wow. They're awesome, though.
Yeah.
They're so
they're
awesome.
like 100 pages of what, 8-point font.
Mhm.
I
It's
had
8
to,
point.
yeah.
I had to send him a digital copy because the old guy can't read it anymore.
It's like spread it, get it a little bigger.
Hey, do you have a picture of you and James Bernard going down the slide at Space Mountain?
Actually, I do. It appears in
Yes.
That's awesome.
it appears in the Men Who Made Hammer I did at James Bernard.
Oh,
And I
okay.
remember it was so fun. We went to his house in London and he cooked for us and he got us drunk. He loved it. He loved the film.
It was a
He
hard,
loved
it was
that
a
what
hard
Hammer
sell.
had done for him, and he never forgot his fans.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So yeah,
If
here's
you've
the
been down
thanks
Splash
to,
Garden, you know you're all like this, screaming as you go down.
Exactly. We're all the same going out Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
well, if you and here's a thank you to Alistair for
Oh yes, Infogothic.
introducing us.
Alistair is
This
such a wonderful artist. And
I love this.
thank you
book.
for the digital age. I got people from New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, we were able to do a podcast with somebody in New Zealand, South Korea, England. It's great fun. So we do have some feedback. If you want to hang around for a few minutes, Dick,
Okay.
find out what happens to us here. Chad, you can read the first one because it's from your buddy.
Oh man. That could be any number of people
You got
trying to
lots of buddies.
trying to get my goat here. All right. Oh, look, Dallas Nostromo. What a surprise. Really enjoyed listening to this episode, as it seems the worse the film is, the more fun you have talking about it.
Did you say this is from Plan 9 from
Oh.
Outer Space 107?
Yeah, Plan 9 from Outer Space, like Jeff said. However, I did lose $5 as I bet a friend if you hold on a second here. However, I did lose $5 as a bet. A friend, if you ever covered this film, it would be Chad's.
Lots of,
Okay.
you want me to put some comments in there?
So it's punctuation, Dallas. Okay, punctuation. However, I did lose $5 as I bet a friend if you ever covered this film, it would be Chad's pick.
It was Whitney's pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there. As a side note, this film was remade in 2015 under the title Plan 9, and the Black Saint has a part in it as a zombie. I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So the Black Saint was one of the founding members of the podcast here, and he passed
didn't
away
know that.
3 years ago, I think. 4 years ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he was
my
very fondly remembered, and he was a hoot. So yeah, I got to check that out. Actually, that's available. I think I saw it on. It's either on YouTube or maybe it's on Amazon.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
And the next point is from Evil from YouTube. Don't worry, Jeff. I know who John Holmes was.
So
You had to be there, Dick. You had to be
I
there.
guess.
I was going through Ed Wood's 70s output, which was mostly pornography. And I was scanning through the titles, and there was Big John Part 1, Big John Part 2, starring John Holmes. And I said, "Oh, I bet you can guess who Big John is." And
Oh goodness.
I think Daphne said John Wayne. And Chad goes, "I'm just not that into 70s porn." They left me hanging that I knew who John Holmes was. So I appreciate it, Evil.
Spoiler, I knew who it was the whole time.
Yeah.
Evil's got your back.
Mhm.
Don't worry, Jeff.
All right. And then for Black Sabbath 108, the last episode we did, Daphne?
Sure. This is from Last Avenger 85. Great review. When are you going to review Black Sunday?
We did.
Well, as a matter of fact,
Just not on this podcast.
So you guys remember when we did that? And afterwards I said, oh, darn, I forgot to
Yeah.
put up that thing of all the Bava films that we've done. So there. We did Black Sunday. We did Blood and Black Lace. We did Planet of the
Can you
Vampires.
imagine Black Sunday? I saw that as a Saturday afternoon for kids.
Oh, I
It's
can't.
amazing. All the
What?
kids all the time.
Oh my
This was
goodness.
like 1960, 61. When they hammer that mask into Barbara Steele's face,
Oh my
Oh.
it traumatized the
gosh.
whole damn generation of kids. It's like,
Oh,
oh, it's a horror
wow.
movie. It's for the kids. It's
Wow.
Saturday.
That's
So
impressionable.
those are the
for
ones.
kids.
So we've
They
done
love the
4
beheading
Bava.
part.
We've done 4
There you go,
Bava
Whitney.
films
Take your
God, I love
kid.
on
Bava.
classic era, and we've
Yes,
done
I know what to
3
do with
on
my
70s,
nephews.
so.
When I walked into Nancy, my wife of wonderful 20 years, first thing I saw was her Laserdisc copies of 2 5 films. Underneath, she had the letterbox copy on VHS of Forbidden Planet, and she
Aw.
had Ed Wood stuff, including Plan 9. And my oldest boy, when he heard this, said, Dad, you got to marry her.
Aw.
So, and I have to admit something here.
Be
God,
careful.
I'm so clueless. So
Last time you did that, we got in big trouble.
no. I totally read that Last Avenger wrong until right before the show I realized what it was. Because there is a Lutheran church about 15 miles from me called Stavanger Lutheran Church, named after a town in Norway, Stavanger, Norway. So I'm looking at this and I'm going, La Stavanger, L.A. Stavanger. I wonder who. Maybe it's somebody from Iowa or North. Oh, I'm sorry. But that's not even the Stavanger is Stavanger. I'm not kidding. This is all real. All right.
Words
And
is
then
hard.
there's one from J Bart, another regular listener. Whitney, you got that up?
Yeah, what an iconic image. Look forward to listening later. Hope the whole Grue-Crew doing well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's our feature image was the makeup, the medium dead in the bed with the rictus on her face that
Yeah.
Eugenia
So awesome.
Bava did.
Hope you're doing good too, Jay Bart.
Yeah,
it's really
yeah.
nice.
Yes, it is nice.
Keeping it real in Philadelphia.
You
Sometimes
mentioned all that
I wonder
Bava.
if
Oh, excuse me.
What's
I
that?
was just going to say, I wonder if Last Avenger 85, because on some pod players or some podcast players, they only go back so far. So
I sent him a link to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
oh, cool.
I did.
Okay.
I replied to that and kind of explained that we started migrating to YouTube about a year ago, and we didn't get done on everything on video till January, and then I gave him a link to the webpage and to that episode, and then told him what other Bavas we had. He's absolutely
got a lot
right.
of Bavas.
And Bill Mulligan is a Bava head.
We're up to our armpits in Bavas.
Yeah, we are.
As Bugs Bunny would say.
Were you going to say something about Bava, Dick?
Well,
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It struck me that Mario Bava, Alfred Hitchcock, and Terence Fisher all died within about a month of each other in 1980.
Oh wow.
Aw,
Figure what?
Hmm.
3 fantastic directors all gone at the same time.
Yeah.
that's
Oh, the visuals are incredible.
Mhm.
You guys ever do Argento? I just sold my grandson Suspiria for the first time on the Blu-ray.
I just
Between the music and that's one of Nancy's and both are. Oh, we love that film.
Yeah,
we
awesome
have
movie.
done what with Suspiria. In fact, we just did on the 70s. We did Cat of Nine Tails, which was a straight giallo from like 71, I think, with James Franciscus and Carl
71.
Malden. And I know we've done. We did Phenomena.
D.
Yeah, in the 70s, and we'll definitely do others. We've done Lucio Fulci too. We've done a few of those. And, we travel the world.
I'm ashamed to say I've never seen a Fulci film.
Oh, really?
Well, there's so much stuff to see. And
There is.
so many
There
books to
is.
read. And I got
I'm
magazines
not-
to publish.
You know, I made that sound like I was giving you a hard time, but I'm not.
No. It's just, I'll tell Nancy
seen more
sometimes
movies
things
than
I
I have.
haven't seen. She said, "How could you not have seen this in your lifetime?" I said, "Give me a break. A lot of movies out there."
Well, I'm envious of Daphne for having now just seen, because all the movies that we do, I look at them totally differently than I did the first time I saw them as just a spectator. I think we've all talked about it.
Yeah.
Like Whitney's seen it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
Yes.
cool.
IB Tech print and Horror of Dracula, and you go, "Wow, this is how I remember seeing them." It's not the same as watching it on my phone.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. That really beat just that vague memory as a kid. I'm like, whoa, now this feels like a real experience. Just seeing all the characters and the sets, everything was just beautiful. Gosh.
It's
One
one of the
films
things I
that transcends time, there where you could show it now 50 years later, and younger people. There's a lot of Hammer films don't pass with time. This one is timeless.
Yeah, it is.
I may have to show that to my one grandson. Yeah, it's one of the things I missed from the pandemic was going to, revivals and big screen presentations of classic horror.
Jeff will tell you, but we're probably at the same revivals at the same places in Des Moines at the Flora place.
I know we were at the Flora at the same time because we both saw Nosferatu with the live music from the Invincible Czars.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. Those guys are great. I'm still kind of in touch with them. We were at one time, we're going to try to find a cut of music from one of their scores as the intro outro for this, but that's stuff happens. They're actually redoing their Nosferatu score right now. I think they're getting close. All right, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up is one chosen by Daphne. Speaking of Barbara Steele, what did you pick?
Oh, crap. Something about hair.
Long hair.
I've never heard of this one.
The long hair of death.
Sorry. I should know better because this is not the first time it's happened to me. The long hair of death.
Yeah.
I don't see oh crap on IMDb anywhere.
The long hair of death. Barbara Steele.
How ironic.
How ironic.
Well, again, thank you.
That's an Antonio Margheriti film. So that he was kind of I think a competitor in Italy of Bava. So I think that'll be interesting.
Anthony Dawson, I think, was his U.S. name often.
Pardon me?
Wasn't Margheriti? Didn't he have a lot of his films released in the States as Anthony Dawson?
Oh.
You know what? We'll have to find that out. I didn't know that, but all right. And back to things that I don't know. There's plenty of ways to stay in touch. So please, everybody, like the podcast, subscribe, hit the alerts. Please leave comments. We love comments. We read comments. You can leave
We burn
comments.
comments.
On the YouTube channel.
Yeah, put punctuation so they can read it.
If you're,
Yeah, please.
If you're
Dick, you don't know these guys, man. They're killing me with the no punctuation.
I've been getting this stuff since probably before you were born, and man, sometimes I turn over to Nancy here. Translate this.
So, yeah, and if you don't want to watch the video on YouTube, we're also available on audio, just on regular podcasts. So that's why I always used to listen before I got involved. I was driving around for my job all over the state.
Record movies on audio cassette to listen to, long before you had VCRs.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Thanks again, Dick. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank
Dick.
you.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. Same
Perfect
here.
timing. Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the classic era, as only decades of horror can do it. Say goodnight,
To who?
everybody.
Good night, John
Good
Boy.
night, everybody.
Good night, Mary Ellen.
Gruesome Magazine.